let's go.
That sounds a bit weird. Good morning. How the devil are you doing? This is weird. Just let you show. I'm going to show you something we're doing. This is weird. Just let you show. Broadcasting live over on Twitch. We're doing right now. Weird. Just let I'm not going to stick around live over on Twitch. I just want to prove that we are actually broadcasting live on Twitch for the first time. So anybody watching over on Twitch, good morning, welcome. Thank you for being here. If you are here, let me throw over to. Let me have a look. Jim Turner has just arrived. I do need to mute that actually. What's the best way to do that? I wonder. That's better. I've muted that. I was listening to myself, which, frankly, nobody wants to do. Let's have a look. Demolition news. Good. Oh, yes. Okay. I'm even getting notifications from Twitter, which is fantastic stuff. Good morning to Chris Ford as well. Good morning, my friend. Hope you're feeling well. Are you mended now? Sincerely hope you are. Good morning, Mark. This is Gary Muirhead. Good morning, everybody, and happy Friday. Happy Friday. And on a very similar line, here is Andy Hare. Morning, all. Well, let me do this in my proper London accent. Morning, all. Well, blow me damn if it's not Friday. Huzzah! Yes, Friday indeed. Although, I will be telling you in just a moment, I'll be back here again tomorrow if you fancy it. Dan Cullen says, good morning, everyone. It's Friday. Getting ready for the trip home. Good luck to you, my friend. Hope you have a safe one. Let's have a look. Who else do we have here? What's the cap of choice today? I don't know how well you can see it in this light, but it is a DeHarco hat. Obviously a Dutch company, but I picked this up at I think the last Bauma. They very kindly gave me the DeHarco hat. Pretty damn swish, I would say. Mark Whiting has just arrived as well. Good morning, Mark. So yes, as I say, this is our first. It's a trial exercise. We are now broadcasting live over on Twitch. Got to be honest, we're already broadcasting, obviously, as you know, on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and anybody else that will have us. Fred's been nagging me for about 2 years now to actually start broadcasting on Twitch for more, I guess, for about 2 years now. It is the biggest live streaming platform in the world, but to me, it always appeared to be just a bunch of gamers, which isn't really my thing. However, I was listening to a guy on a podcast earlier this week who uses his Twitch stream to do political commentary over in America. So I set aside a bit of time yesterday, taught myself the basics, thought I'd give it a try. And lo and behold, we are now live on Twitch. It's a good question, Ken. It is basically another live streaming platform. So, well, I say another. In actual fact, I mean, it's owned by Amazon, so that's the first part. So it's big and it's stable and it's very, very well invested in and all the stuff. Twitch basically was the biggest and probably the best known of the live streaming platforms, and it was only after they started doing it that the likes of Twitter and Instagram and YouTube came along and went, "Oh, we'll have a piece of that." They've been doing it for longer. As I say, there's a lot of gaming goes on over there, but I've decided, there's millions of users now. Whether any of them will ever actually pop up and take note of what I'm saying remains to be seen, but we thought we'd give it a try. Gary Muirhead says, I was listening to the Radio Scotland this morning. Heard SSE Scotland was applying for planning permission to buy a fossil fuel power station with carbon capture technology to replace the old gas powered one to meet demands, and this is all before we all own EV cars or electric equipment. Good luck to SSE Scotland, I say. I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of this. One of the things that I am planning to do, I don't know if anybody else has been paying attention to this, but when I was speaking to Tim Burnhope up at JCB, or at Hillhead, but Tim Burnhope of JCB, he mentioned the term microgrid, which I have to say kind of caught me on the hop. I'd never heard the term before. Lo and behold, a couple of days later, I featured a video from Caterpillar. They also mentioned microgrids, and just to complete the hat trick, Volvo, when we had our Volvo show the other day, they too mentioned microgrids. So at some point, possibly over this weekend, I'm going to sit down with my AI co-host, Bruce, and ask all the things that we need to know about all things related to microgrids. That's something I'll be doing. Now, I will get, as Gary said, yes, a microgrid nation. And maybe, all joking aside, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's a good thing. If we're all taking care of our own energy needs locally, maybe that's the way forward. Jim Turner says, had to look up Twitch last night, been going a fair while, a big following too. Yeah, I mean, there are literally millions, and there are, not that I'll be doing it, but there are people making millions over on Twitch as well. It really is something special. As I say, we'll try it, we'll see how it goes, but it seems to be working absolutely fine. Have to be honest, I wasn't expecting it to work the first time, but lo and behold, it most certainly is. Now, let me go back to here because I want to share a thing. Even though I know a lot of you aren't football fans, I'm pretty sure you're aware there's a rather important match taking place on Sunday. Now, don't worry, I'm not going to predict the score. I'm not going to point out that England has made it to the Euro finals through a mix of good fortune, tedium, and a smidgen of cheating. And if one more person tells me football's coming home, I will not be responsible for my actions. But here's the thing. Watching football either live at the match or on telly at home seems to be accompanied these days by some serious, heavy drinking. I get it, used to do it myself. If England should win their first trophy in 58 years, it will undoubtedly be cause for celebration. But here's the thing, okay? Depending on what you've eaten and the speed of your metabolism, alcohol will stay in your system for 9 hours or more. That means that come Monday morning, you could be working alongside individuals that are still under the influence and whose judgment is impaired. You might like to think about that before you start work on Monday. If you'd like to know more, there's a very good article on LinkedIn right now from my old friend Nicola Elvey, who is an occupational nurse specializing in demolition and construction. She's written an article basically making people prepared for the big match and the alcohol that goes with it. So there you are. If you'd like to read that article. Now, obviously, Nicola is of the female persuasion. Also of the female persuasion is a certain Sarah Jane Turner. Morning from Mrs. Jim. Mrs. Jim Turner is in the house. Gary Muirhead says, I thought something at Twitch was something you did with your eye. I mean, it is. It is, unquestionably. Is it coming home? I don't believe it is. But wouldn't it be so English? We've played. I mean, even if you don't watch football, I can tell you now. As a football fan, England have absolutely stunk up the place. They've played the most boring, tedious, unambitious football, and yet there they are in the final. It would be so English for them, having done all that, to then go and win it. That being said, literally from the first game, I've watched a lot of the Euros. Me and Fred sat down and watched the first game, and we decided that in all likelihood, Spain would go on and win it because they've been playing the best football. But there you are. Lots of people saying good morning, Mrs. Turner. Can I just say how much Jim enjoys your program? You can. You could send it to me in writing if you like. I always like to hear that. Listen, it's I know this sounds like a cliche, but I enjoy it too. I mean, I am basically kind of getting paid, not as regularly as I'd like, but I kind of get paid to turn up and chat to me mates for a couple of hours. It's not a bad gig, that is it? Let's have a look. Good morning, Mrs. Jim Turner. Jim Turner says our lot have already said anyone that's hanging out their arse not to feel obliged to turn in on Monday. I mean, I think that's a sensible thing. And I did see a few construction companies on Monday announcing the fact that they were giving everybody Monday off, which on the one hand you think, oh, isn't that thoughtful? On the other hand, you're thinking, yeah, I wonder why they're doing that. Not bothered so long as they win. See, I am. And I realise, 58 years on, there's still question marks over that Jeff Hurst goal in the 1966 World Cup final. And, it does leave a slightly bad taste. I mean, we beat the Germans 4-2, or West Germany 4-2. So it didn't actually matter at the end of the day. But wouldn't it have been nice to have turned up and actually played the football that we're capable of playing and then won it? Nothing better than stopping for your break, seat back and watch the show. I can think of several things that are better, including the cup of tea I've got sat here, which, by the way, it's getting cold. Always good if you enjoy your job. If you don't, get out. There are days. There are days. Let's have a look. I'll be in because I'm a tight bastard that hates missing out on wages. Good man. Good man. Footy's here. Not he's called footy for different reasons. Better not be paying them for Monday, having time off. If you're not sure, I'm not bothered win or lose. These Wallies are not in it for the game. Yeah, and listen, I could preach on this for hours. That's one of the things that really troubles me with modern day football. If somebody had said to me, it would have to be quite a while ago, but if somebody had said to me, you are going to be playing for West Ham, I would have given everything, not rolling around on the floor, feigning injury and all of the things. I would be running my bits off. Because that's what you do when you're into sport, and you watch some of these players. It's yeah. Now we're talking. We're swapping our Sunday roast for paella. I had a long chat. Actually, I will get to the show in just a moment, but I'm warming up for tomorrow. I had a long chat with a guy when I was over in the Czech Republic with Bobcat. We went out for dinner, and it was a real mixed bag. So we had some Czechs, Romanians, a couple of Poles, a couple of Spaniards, a couple of Brits as well, and we were all having a chat. And we were talking about the paella. Now, obviously, I think most people that eat the stuff tend to eat it when they're on holiday, usually by the beach, and therefore it's kind of seafood inspired. But one of the best paellas I've ever had was actually rabbit. Really, really good. And I said to the guy, is that kosher? And he said, there's no such thing as a standard paella. It's what you have. So if you live by the coast and you've got access to mussels and prawns and squid, that's what goes in. If you live in the mountains and you've got access to lamb and goat and, in my instance, rabbit, that's what goes in. Awesome stuff. There you are. There is Sarah Jane Turner saying chicken paella. I'd be all over that, although she is off to see the animals now. Enjoy the show. I will do my level best, but thank you very much indeed for being here. Footy says, who wants to see 12 men running around the field kicking a bag of wind? Not me. I'd rather be doing something else. Okay, I take that on board. I would point out there's generally only 11 on each side, or 22, depending which way you cut it. If you're going to count both sides, you're going for 22. They're in it for the celeb status and money involved, and the hot women. Well, aren't we all? Listen, the very reason that I sit here every day is for the hot women. Yeah, I'm really not. Now, without further ado, I think it is probably time. Oh, hang on a minute. Steve says they're bloody sissies. A little love tap, they start rolling about. What happened to real men? Jesus. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. And I know there's memes out there of people, playing rugby with their ear hanging off and just carry on regardless. But it just ruins the game. It ruins the game. And can you imagine behaving like that? Somebody sort of brushes past you and sometimes doesn't even make contact, and you go, clutching your face like somebody's shot you with a sniper rifle, and you do all that. And then there's 57 cameras pointed at you and 60,000 people in the stadium all looking at you, and you get up. No, actually, I'm all right. What a plum. If one of my old teammates back when I was playing football had done that, I'd wait until halftime and I would kick him in the balls because it's embarrassing. Look at George Bass, played football, pissed up. Yes, he did. How long would you last acting like that on construction? You wouldn't make it to break time, would you? You wouldn't make it to break time. Right, enough, people. Let's get rid of that. And women's football is streaks ahead of men's. They get floored and jump straight back up again and carry on. They do. See the fairer sex. You'd think they'd be easier to injure, being the fairer sex and feminine and all that stuff. Are they balls? They're up and at it. I have a horrible feeling, though, that like everything else in the game, they will ultimately learn from the men and they will end up doing it as well. Hope that's not the case. Anyway. Should we make a start? I think we probably should. Let's roll the intro and get this thing underway. There. excuse me. That is absolutely horrible. Left it for a good 5 minutes too long. It is Friday, the 12th of July. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. I am your host, Mark Anthony, the walrus of demolition. In today's show, ain't no bucket like a dig gym bucket. We'll see. We're going behind the scenes at Liebherr's Colmar facility. It's Kiwi demolition time, and heavy equipment requires heavy transport. Plus, we're going to pop back to Hillhead 2024 to check out the stand of the mighty Hitachi. But before we get to all of that, we do have the small matter of today's mystery machine. So let's get that prepared. Yeah, mystery machine. Let's have a look at the mystery machine. Let's see what it is you've got to figure out today. I have to be honest. I've got two standing by, and I can't remember which one I've done. Now I do. Now I do. That's what you've got to work with. I can tell you now. If anyone's got any clues on that, I know everybody's holding off very, very quickly. Oh, Jim says an XCMG loading shovel. It's not, but yeah, I mean, you're in the ballpark. Yeah, I think the tip of the bucket that you're seeing there is probably a big enough clue. You're in the ballpark, but it is not an XCMG. While you're trying to figure that out, let me very quickly remind you of today's question of the day, which looks a bit like this. Yeah, I'd like to dig through your wardrobe, either today or at some point in the past, to discover what is your favourite item of clothing ever. Now, I've got a couple of very nice suits, including one that my wife had made for me. I've got another one that was made for me a while back by the guy that made all the suits for the Aston Villa Football Club. That's a whole other story. I've got a huge collection of ties, believe it or not. Never wear them, but I've got at least 100 ties upstairs. Obviously, I love my hats, not just these ones, but the fancier ones as well. But probably my favourite item of clothing of all time was my Frankie Says Relax t-shirt from the 1980s. I'd wanted one for absolutely ages, and I finally got around to buying one in Carnaby Street in London. Listen, at the time, everyone was wearing a Frankie Says t-shirt, and that was I ended up with two. There was another one, my other one that said Frankie Says I'm the Unemployed. Yeah. Politically right on. I was back in the day. But what about you? Do you have a favourite item of clothing? Either something that you had as a youngster, a teenager, something you've got now, something that is a go-to? Is there a particular item of clothing that if it's come out the wash, it's going straight back on again? Love to hear from you about that. There we are. We've already got to start. Gary Muirhead says, an old Caterpillar jacket I was given also had the old cat logo on. Absolutely loved. Yeah, absolutely. I wish I'd kept a few of those. I remember being given a real big puffer jacket by Finning back in the day. I mean, 30 odd years ago, and it was an absolute belter. But it got dirty, it got greasy, it got oily, and in the end, it got binned. Sharon, question of the day. Steve says, the kilt always makes you feel proud when you wear it, beats any other type of clothing. Yeah, I mean, and I'm not honestly. I mean, bearing in mind, I am a man who owns and occasionally wears a kilt. It's black. I'm not trying to claim allegiance here, and I've got no Scottish in me at all. How often do you break out the kilt, Steve? I know you got married in one, but how often do you get to wear it? Love to hear from you. Chris Ford says, a yellow nylon JCB jacket, still have it after 45 years. 45 years. P.S. It doesn't fit, but you've kept it anyway. Like it. Right. Let's have a look. Let's have a look at the mystery machine because we've had several guesses. We left it with Jim Turner reckoning it was an XCMG. It's not. Volvo L90H. It is not one of those. Chris Ford, DL550 from Devellon. No, it's not one of those. Is it a Doosan DL420 CVT-7? Good God, that's a mouthful. It's not one of those either. Gary Muirhead, an Avant 528. It is not. Volvo 190. No, not one of those. Doosan DL450. Not one of those. So let me show you a bit more, shall I? Let's get rid of that. And there you are. There's a smidgen more. Are you getting anything from that at all? Not much of a clue, is it? Tell you what, let me give you a bit more. There you are. Does that help? Maybe. Gary just went for the Komatsu WA380. It's not one of those either. Yeah, I mean, as I say, you're all in the right ballpark, but you're not. You're in the right ballpark, but you're playing the wrong ball game. Let's put it like that. We'll come back to all of that in just a moment because I do need to remind you very quickly of our question of the day, although we're already getting answers on it. Here's the reminder. I tell you what is interesting with this Twitch thing. I can watch myself on Instagram, which I'm doing in the background, and if I do a thing now, like if I do that ain't going to happen over on Instagram for about another 15 seconds. Over on Twitch, 2 seconds. It's about a 2-second delay. Much better. Dealing with the big boys now. I think that's what it is. What have we got in terms of comments here? Let's have a look. Somebody's going for the Hitachi ZW250. Who is that? It's Gary. No, it's not. It's Steve. ZW250-6. It is not one of those. Gary is going for the ZW160. It is not one of those. Steve is going for the ZW220. All good answers, and you're getting ever closer, but it is not any of those things. Jim Turner, going back to our question of the day about clothing. Old rigger boots, he says. They go on first thing in the morning, usually come off around 9 p.m. Used to have an OK boiler suit years ago. Loved that until it got too knackered to wear. Isn't a boiler suit a fine thing? I mean, I've not owned a boiler suit in many years, but I do. I used to go fishing in an orange. I I look like an escapee from Guantanamo Bay. Used to do that all the time, fishing in an orange boiler suit. Yeah. What have we got here? Dan Collins going for the Hitachi ZW160-7. It's not, but we do have a winner, and I can tell you, and I'm sorry to do this, Gary got it first and was followed immediately by Steve Williamson. If I could show you that screen, I could prove to you that's the order it came through in. I can tell you now that Gary Muirhead is absolutely on the money. It is a Hitachi ZW180-7. You see, that's exactly what it is. ZW180-7. So let me go back. I think that could be Gary Muirhead's first points on the board. Let me have I've got a scorecard here. Let me just check. As far as I can see, that is Gary's first points on the board. So 3 points to Gary Muirhead, none to everybody else, although Steve did get the right answer, just didn't get it in quite in time. And this is how petty people can be. Gary didn't write Hitachi. Yes, and then he says, just joking, well done. Yeah, I knew you were, but yeah, well done. Well done to Gary Muirhead. First points on the board. Is this going to be a late run? Is he going to come up on the dark side when nobody's paying attention and just storm across the finish line? Andy Hare says, my black leather Roxy jacket. I was so cool back in the 80s wearing that and sporting my mullet. I may have mentioned this before, and welcome to the scoreboard, says Dan Cullen. Yes, well done indeed, Gary. So when I first started seeing my girlfriend, the one what would become my wife ultimately, I'd been growing my hair for a good couple of years. I mean, I literally had hair down to about here, proper, not one of these silly little shaving brush ponytails. I had the real deal, ponytail, proper job. And I'd had my ear pierced, and I had a nice big pirate earring. I know it's hard to imagine, but I went to meet her once, and I was wearing a white coat that went literally down to my ankles, full length white coat. I had a pair of white trousers on that were rolled up just above my ankle. It was the 80s, please forgive me. And I had a pink t-shirt on, big earring, sodding great ponytail, right? So I was meeting her at Sutton Station, which is not a million miles away from where I'm sat now. Got off the bus and walked across to the train station. And I'm not sure what it looks like now, but Sutton train station used to have like a big facade that was reflective. And I walked across the road, and I first saw myself at quite a distance and thought, hey, look at him. I mean, that could be Don Johnson right there with his white jacket and his white rolled up trousers. And then I got closer to myself and I looked and I thought, "Oh, you look a bit of a twat, actually." So the hair, well, the earring came out, the hair went a couple of days later. I'm not entirely sure the coat ever got another outing. Still used to roll my trousers up. Still do that occasionally from time to time now. But yeah. Thought I was Joe Cool. Turned out I was just a bit of a twat. You've probably gathered that by now, anyway. Right, so we've done the mystery machine. We've got all of that out of the way. Question of the day is bubbling along nicely, so it's time to roll with the show. I have to tell you this, and these things do make me smile. I've just had a notification to say that I've been followed by a person by the name of Eddie Grant over on LinkedIn. Eddie Grant, good morning, good morning. How is Electric Avenue? Do you not want to dance? No, just me. Okay, very easily amused. Very easily amused. Yesterday, if you remember rightly, I'm going off at tangents right now. If you remember rightly, we were talking about all things buckets yesterday, and in particular, we were talking about those fine folks up at Eurofab up in Scotland. Set me thinking about buckets, and I've decided to go a little further afield for buckets. Meet Dig Jim.
The construction industry is entirely dependent on innovation to move forward. Because of the sheer size of projects and machines, more effective ways of carrying out everyday tasks have massive impact on costs, quality and sustainability. Working out of Heldal, Norway, entrepreneur Jim Heldal has spent a lifetime in the construction business and runs a group of companies. One of them is Dig Jim.
The Dig Jim application is a fantastic user-driven innovation, understanding what could make a difference, and in this case, in the situation of breaking or wearing out the bucket.
For excavators across the world, every day is a battle for minimum downtime and maximum productivity. A major issue is that the lip plate, teeth and front corners on excavator buckets are quickly worn down. The bucket loses its properties, digging stops and costs soar. This is what drove Jim Heldal to develop his innovative protection and maintenance system.
If you change wear members weekly, as we very often do, it will get very expensive. And then you must find solutions.
Jim's original inspiration was the ability of traditional Japanese woodworkers to create strong constructions by wedging together pieces of wood with great precision.
They make three parts and they slide it together and they get amazing constructions. And then I'm thinking, why not do that with steel?
The lip plate, side protection and shrouds are welded to the bucket during initial production, or they can be welded to an existing bucket during maintenance. The hardened steel teeth slide into position. Due to their flattened shape and angle, they stay locked in place.
And when you slide them into each other, it locks itself because of the angle. That's all. This system is so simple. I cannot believe that nobody have thinking about it before.
Millimeter precision and the use of Hardox 500 from SSAB has many positive effects. Replacing teeth takes minutes instead of days. The adapter and/or tooth is knocked off and the replacement is inserted by hand. Harder, longer teeth increase penetration and effectivity when digging, increasing productivity by 10%. Due to harder and tougher steel, the system allows for up to 30% weight reduction. This increases the weight that can be carried in every load, reducing the carbon footprint of every bucket filled.
Dig Jim is nominated for the Steel Prize because it's an innovative, really good solution, increasing productivity in using the bucket and making it easy to repair and maintain. This very flexible way of looking at maintenance could inspire the whole industry and in the end save material, which is very, very sustainable.
Dig Jim. Dig Jim, says Ken Hatcher. Lol. Let's have a look. Steve Williamson says, anything that says Norway or Sweden on it, you know it's going to be good. Totally agree. Good to see the focus on wear parts and to come up with a new design. Yeah, just when you think you've seen everything, along comes somebody that's doing something different. Andy Hare obviously knows his music. My new friend over on LinkedIn, Eddie Grant. Does he not want to dance? I've asked. He apparently doesn't. Anyone remember the Equals, the band that Eddie Grant was in long before he was a solo artist? Baby Come Back. Anybody remember that? Absolute belter of a song that was. Yes, and I'm starting to wonder, maybe people are winding me up now. I've been followed over on LinkedIn by Eddie Grant, and apparently I've somebody over on Instagram is watching, and their name is Nicolas Cage 56. I'm going to take a wild stab and think it's probably not that Nicolas Cage, but if it is, good morning. Good morning. Love your work. Love your work, sir. Nothing like a bit of overacting. Love it. And Kappa Group have just joined us over on Instagram as well. Man alive, we're attracting all the big names here. Kappa Group, Eddie Grant, Nicolas Cage. I'm sure King Charles is probably tuning in as well. Liebherr. Who fancies a look behind the scenes at Liebherr? Thought you might. Stick around.
If you are enjoying this episode, please consider supporting the show. You can leave us a tip at buymeacoffee.com/demolition news.
I've already keyed it up. I don't need to tell you anymore. This is a look behind the scenes of Liebherr's Colmar facility, and it's everything you'd expect from Liebherr, really. So you know how we've been. Let me take that away for a second. You know how we've been talking about taking a trip to an open cast mine or a big quarry or something to watch the equipment. Anybody else fancy a day trip to Colmar? Because I certainly do. We've just been talking about. Well, I say me. Been talking about Nicolas Cage, and I suggested that he kind of gets into a part. Let me just very quickly, because this does make me laugh. This is, I'm going to do this full screen. This is how I want to start the show every single day. Okay, so get ready. Yep. That is exactly how I arrive for work every single day. Really don't. I kind of limp in here. Face Off. Well done, Steve. Good knowledge. It most certainly is Face Off. Very, very funny movie. If anyone's, well, I say funny, it's good action and everything else. But the fact that Nick Cage and John Travolta take the mickey out of each other's appearance while being themselves, it just very, very good. Steve says nothing better than even till this day being told by God that that's some bit of kit you have, and tell you I'd stand and watch all day. Yeah, absolutely right. Do you get much of that? Do you get many people coming in and stopping and watching what you're up to, Steve? I bet you probably do. Andy Hare says, I want a stealth Liebherr. Oh, I mean, I'd like a Liebherr full stop, but a stealth Liebherr. Would anyone know, I wonder, if you had a stealth Liebherr? Maybe. Let's have a look. Steve also says, another multi-tool excavator being built. Handle pullers, step aside. Here comes a proper utilised machine. Let's face it, that's what they do, isn't it, Liebherr? And yes, all the big names. So we've had Eddie Grant, we've had Nicolas Cage, and we've even had Batman running for Mayor of London. Didn't do so well, did he, our friend Batman? What was that about? What was that about? What? I don't know if I told you this or not. He contacted me. I can't remember the guy's name now, but Sharm Batra. Sharm Batra. He contacted me to say, I'd love to come on your show and talk about all things political. And I thought, possible Mayor of London? Of course I'm going to do that. So we did it. And he was quite clearly barking mad because he did refer to himself several times as Batman. And it was weird. What I didn't tell you was while all the whole thing was going on, the mayoral race, I reckon he was phoning me once, sometimes twice a day for about 3 weeks. Yeah, I got to the point where I basically blocked him. What did he think I was going to help him across the line? I hope that wasn't the case. Once a week, this week the site agent had the drone out. Kids watching, mums with kids watching, photographers taking pictures. Every week you meet someone that's never seen a machine with GPS and tilt rotator. Where have they been? But I'm so glad that sort of thing can still happen. I've said it till I'm blue in the face. You know, these huge site holdings are all well and good, and I understand the reasoning behind them. And we don't want kids running onto sites, and we don't want people breaking in and vandalising or stealing stuff. And I understand all of the site security and the safety implications. But there is nothing more inspiring for the future generation than actually seeing somebody like a Steve or a Gary or a Ken or whoever it might be actually doing their thing and possibly even taking the time to say, this is what it is. This is how it works. Love that stuff. Now, yes, what do we got next? We've done Liebherr. Yeah, we're gonna head off to New Zealand in a second for a spot of Demolition. Stick around. What's going on in the chat? When I see kids with their parents watching, I always flash the light, spin the bucket. When you see them waving back, makes your day. Born entertainer is our Steve, but that's what it needs. You know, this whole idea of doing everything behind closed doors goes back to that thing, and I've heard this in relation to race, and I've also heard it in relation to gender. You can't be what you can't see. So if you're looking, if you are an ethnic minority, black or whatever it might be, and you're looking for a role model, you need to have those role models on TV and in the media and stuff. Same with women in construction. We need people like Georgina up at JCB. We need people like Katie Kelleher doing her thing at the CPA. You can't be what you can't see. And Steve Williamson and others, I'm not singling Steve out here, you can't be what you can't see. And if there are kids up in Bonnie, Scotland, looking at that and thinking, that geezer over there in the shades looks cool, I'd like a bit of, let me recap. I don't suppose anybody north of the border is saying, I like the look of that geezer, because that's a bit of a London thing. But look at that fella over there. Ockeye the New, look at that fella in his shades. He looks dead cool. I'd like to do that. That's the way you inspire the next generation, in my opinion. While you're mulling that over and wondering where I got my Scottish accent from, Ward Demolition, down in New Zealand. Enjoy.
Hi, my name is Ziggy. I'm from Ward Demolition and I am the site supervisor for Alexandra Park. After 4 weeks of asbestos removal and prep work, we've just started the first stage of the big demolition. We're using a dust fighter, and we also have a integrated dust suppression on the high reach to mitigate our dust because we're surrounded by residential buildings and a main highway. After this, we've got a bit of a tricky separation of the black building and the yellow building. We're keeping the black building and demolishing the yellow. The separation is challenging because it's not a clean cut. Some of the services from the black building run into the section that we're demolishing, so we have to do a step down separation. So we're putting a bird cage under the ceiling height just for protection and for stability when we do the separation.
Our team had to cut and crane 9 large steel sections. The glass was millimetres away from the first section we removed. Dalton used the high reach to drop the remaining roof in one piece. It takes a lot of skill to complete this safely. One 100% of the site's concrete was recycled into the site's foundations. All of the plastic seats were donated to a local go-karting club. Our team separated out the native timber for reuse. Over 4,000 tonnes of material was diverted from landfill, for a total recycling rate of 99%.
Smart job. Going to say good morning to purveyors of fine PPE, Farflux, who've just joined us over on Instagram. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Gary Muirhead says, I don't know where you got your Scottish accent from, but take it back and get your money back. I'm going to work on it. How about that? It still won't be good, but I'm going to work on it. Andy here, for the love of God, he says, put a selector grapple on that little Hyundai and stop just making a mess. Wall Demolition in New Zealand. Are you hearing this? Are you? Let's have a look. Steve says, what a job to turn up to. And he also says, definitely a skilled job. And goes on to say, you wouldn't just put any operator on that, on something like that. No, you wouldn't. For anyone watching who may be watching right now in Dawlish, just be aware. Be aware. There's going to be a slow-moving duck doing the rounds. Our friend, our footy, is going to take his duck for a drive around Dawlish. It's going to be a slow drive. If anybody in Dawlish is watching this and you see a slow-moving rubber duck, that's a wheeled excavator to the uninitiated, give him a toot and a wave. I'm sure it'll make his morning. Where are we? Yes, we've been there. We don't generally do transport. We mentioned it from time to time. We don't really do transport on this show, but we're going to in just a second for good reason. Stick around.
Since the finance bill came into effect in April, the construction industry has seen a surge of fuel thefts. The rising cost of living has placed an additional risk of theft by employees and contractors, as well as opportunistic thieves. By using diesel dye and placing warnings of its use, you are sending a clear message that this is your fuel.
So, heavy equipment requires some heavy transport, particularly down under. I enjoyed this. Have a look.
When you need to move your machinery, you need the Panther Series 2 low loader. Built to withstand the harshest mining conditions, loading and unloading large mining equipment can now be done in minimal time and much more safely. Designed, engineered and manufactured by Western Australian-based Piacentini & Sons' highly skilled and industry-recognised workforce, the Panther Series 2's rear axle rotation system was developed with safety, ease of use and productivity as its focus. And it delivers. With remote-controlled functionality, the Panther Series 2 can seamlessly transition from loading to transport mode, eliminating pivot points and enhancing safety during loading and unloading. It provides optimal ground clearance and greater stability during both loading and transport, and combined with a single axle allows for better mobility around site. And safety is paramount, including access platforms with retractable stairs on both sides to ensure safe access and egress at all times. Designed for 360,000 kilos, the Panther Series 2 360T can carry a range of vehicles, from the Latorno L2350 front-end loader, a Liebherr 9350 excavator, or even an Atlas Copco PV351E drill rig. Its design, including the rear axle rotation system, is fully scalable, allowing configurations with payloads ranging from 130,000 kilos up to 990,000 kilos, and can be customised to suit any mining operation across the globe. The Panther has been built using OEM components, ensuring that you always have reliable component supply anywhere in the world. It features a modular design that reduces shipping costs. The design has been optimised using finite element analysis. Fabricated components are stress relieved, and the low loader is built with attention to detail. Minimise your load and unload times, improve your operational efficiencies, and move your site equipment safely and easily with a Piacentini & Son Panther Series 2 low loader.
For more information on this exceptional product, contact me, Kim Piacentini.
Good point, isn't it? The equipment looks so small, and we're talking some big equipment there. It looks so small on that trailer. Absolutely fantastic stuff. I'm just going to say very quick good morning to Nicola Elvey, who, when I was talking at the beginning of the show about all things alcohol related and England football and everything else, Nicola Elvey that wrote the article, and she's just joined us over on LinkedIn. Steve says that's as smart as, and he also says look into Martrain. They have some epic stuff. I will have a look at that after the show, Steve. Thank you very much indeed for the heads up. I think we've got one more film to bring you today, and it means we're going to be heading back to Hillhead for some more big equipment, actually. So let's roll one of these. I'll tell you in advance, this isn't one of our films. This is actually Hitachi's own, but we've put the music to it, so I hope you enjoyed that. Didn't get to spend as much time on the Hitachi stand as I would have liked, but glad that they've come to the party with a film. Back to Hillhead with Hitachi. Have a look. Hitachi. I'm not even going to try and describe that. I'm going to go with Steve Williamson, who says Hitachi is definitely up there with some big, with the big brands like Volvo and Liebherr. I'd have one. Yeah. I'll be honest with you. You know, hand on heart, I wish Hitachi were a little more forthcoming and accessible. You know, we find it very easy to work with the Volvos and the Liebherrs and the JCBs of this world. Hitachi, not quite so much. Wish they were a bit more outgoing, but yeah, absolutely awesome stuff. You know, you're always going to see good stuff when turning up to a Hitachi booth. You do indeed. You do indeed. And bearing in mind, in my lifetime, they have gone from interloper. You know, when I first saw Hitachi machines, they were being criticized for being, you know, very Japanese, and they were supposed to be prone to rusting, and the cabs were too small for Europeans, and all of the things. And they went from that, and in the space of my career, 35 or so years, they've gone from that to now where they are, you know, the creme de la creme, aren't they? Let's be absolutely honest. Hitachi booth at Balmer, outstanding. Yes, it was indeed. Funnily enough, that I mean, taking back what I just said about Hitachi out of Europe, pretty good. Yeah, pretty good. We have no major issues with them, but it's like getting blood out of a stone trying to deal with Hitachi UK, which is a damn shame because I am a fan of the brand. Anyway, that pretty much wraps up the main part of this morning's show. I would say it's going to wrap up the week, but it doesn't, because we're going to be back here Saturday. I'm going to be back here tomorrow for the Saturday social. We're going to turn Saturday into Natterday. See what I did there? If anybody fancies that, please pop along. I'd love to have you here. Can I just say good morning to Hammerglass, who have just joined us over on Instagram as well. Great to see them here. probably one of the most talked about products I think we've ever featured on this show, which is great news. Yes, I'll be back here tomorrow. I'm just chewing the fat. If you're around, please join us. If nobody turns up, I'll call it a day after 10 minutes and I'll go and do something else. But if you are here and fancy a chat, I don't know what it's going to be about. It's going to be an open platform. If anybody wants to come on as a guest, you can do that. I'll share the link at the very beginning of the show, and you can hop on and share your news, your views, your thoughts, your hopes, your fears, your aspirations, or you can just wave at the camera. Entirely up to you. But I'll be back here at 10 o'clock tomorrow for the Saturday Social. And obviously, we'll be back next week for a full program of the Breakfast Show from Monday until Friday. Because we need to keep the pressure up, because apparently somebody is launching a new podcast. New podcast. Morning, Worthing. Hammer Glasses. Good morning, Mark. Good morning back to you people. I don't know who that is. My guess, I don't know. I don't actually know, because my understanding was Katharina, who has been kind of one of our link people over at Hammerglass. I think she's on holiday at the moment, or is going on holiday. So I'm not entirely sure who I'm speaking to at Hammerglass, but lovely to have you here, and keep up the good work, people. Right, that's just about wraps up the main part. I'm going to roll the outro in just a second, and then we'll have a bit of a natter afterwards. So I'll be right back with the Craic immediately after this. I took a wild guess. Let me turn that down a bit. That's a bit too loud. There we go. I took a wild guess that Katharina was behind the controls of the Instagram account of Hammerglass. I was on the money. It is indeed. So let me do that again. Good morning, Katharina. Good of you to join us. Thank you very much indeed for being here. How are things post Hillhead? Let us know. As I say, one of the most talked about products we've featured here on this show. Lots and lots of social media interaction. I can't remember where we are on that actually. I think we hit about 1.7 million on the Instagram post. But just to talk about yourself, I'm going to have a very quick look, see where we are with that. Let's have a look. There we are. View insights. Yeah, 1.7 million views on people beating a cab screen with a sledgehammer. 1.7 million. Clearly doing the job correctly. So fantastic news. Steve Williamson says, "Good morning, Hammerglass." Good morning. Just good morning, Hammerglass, from the entire Breakfast Show audience. Good of you to join us. Yes, I'll be back here again tomorrow for the Saturday Social. I'm trying to do it once a month. I'm trying to do it on the second Saturday of the month. And tomorrow is the second Saturday of the month. So we'll be turning up. No agenda, no video, no nothing. We'll just turn up and see where the conversation leads us. Hammerglass, or Katharina says, "Amazing. I can't believe it." Nor could we. I mean, we've got some posts that have done 30 million plus. But they've been very, very well engineered to do precisely that. Whereas this, it was literally Fred filming people hitting the cab with sledgehammers, and it captured the public attention. And it did it at the show as well. This is I can't say we are masters at this. Obviously, there were big crowds over at Hitachi and at Leap Air and various other show stands, but some of the biggest crowds were at the Hammerglass stand, mainly people trying to be all butch and manly and breaking a screen that they turned out they couldn't. But it's fantastic stuff. So yes, we've got lots and lots of stuff we could talk about. Drugs and alcohol on site, particularly with the England football match coming up on Sunday. So there is every possibility you could go to work on Monday and find yourself working alongside one or more people that are nominally under the influence of alcohol. Is that a good thing? I don't believe it is. Should we be having compulsory alcohol and drugs testing? I believe we should. If you'd like to talk about that, I'd love to hear from you. Or anything else, entirely up to you. You pick a topic, and as I say, if you'd like to leap on the show as a guest, so long as you've got a camera facing that way, always horizontal for this show, you could hop on the show and you can join in the chat as a guest. You listen, I can make you the co-host if you like. If you want to come along and run the show, you can do that as well. Love to have you here. Jim Turner says, "God knows how I managed to miss the Hammerglass stand." Me either. I would have thought that the noise of people hitting a cab with a sledgehammer would have been enough. I didn't go looking for it. I went listening for it, and I found it with no trouble at all. I don't know how you missed it at all. Just trying to remember. I think they were down the same aisle as Lecatech. Does that mean you didn't see the electric hammer as well? Possibly. But yeah, it was well worth it. But if you would like, obviously there is a video over on Diggers and Dozers. Go and have a look at Instagram. That's probably the best place to see it. But yeah, I'm not being paid to say this, and I'm not doing this just because Katerina happens to be over on Instagram. But you know, you see some products and you think, oh, well, why is not everyone doing that? You know, if we're going to sit here and talk about our staff being our greatest asset and, you know, our commitment to safety, why take the chance? Why not just hoik out the front screen of your excavator, replace it with hammer glass, and ensure that the guy pulling the levers goes home in one piece without having bits of rock hitting him in the head? Surely that makes perfect sense, doesn't it? They should get the UK's strongest man to give it a go. Be good for social media too. Eddie Hall, I think, was the last person I heard of holding that title. Eddie Hall, go whack some hammer glass. Although bearing in mind, I mean, hammer glass are up in Sweden. There's some big old Swedes. I don't watch The World's Strongest Man very often, but when I do, there always seems to be a big old Swede involved in that. That would be good. But if Eddie Hall is watching, and frankly, why wouldn't he be? Because it is the greatest show on earth. If Eddie Hall is watching and you'd like to go and hit a machine cab with a sledgehammer, give us a call, and I'm sure Katerina can make that happen. I've just had a flurry of activity over on LinkedIn for reasons I can't possibly imagine. Nothing of any interest, which is good news. So yes, that will probably do us for today, I think. As I say, I'll be back here at 10 o'clock tomorrow if you fancy a natter. Yes, I do. Steve says, do you remember the video when showing how good the Tesla windows are? That was their Cybertruck, wasn't it? And it broke on the first hit. Yeah, see, I've mentioned Eddie Hall, and I've also mentioned Eddie Grant. That's a whole other story. I'm going to come back to hammer glass in just a moment because I find this quite exciting, actually. Where was I going with this? Yeah, Elon Musk. Elon, my old China. Obviously, we're broadcasting on your X platform. Still think it sounded better as Twitter, but we're broadcasting, and I'm sure you're watching in from your Bond villain lair. You know that Cybertruck of yours? You know the windows in it are a bit sketchy? It's a company over in Sweden called Hammerglass. Give them a bell. Now, Katerina has just said this. I'm half Icelandic, a Viking. We have a female Viking watching the show. I can't tell you how exciting that is. There's a bit of me, and there's a bit of me that hopes that Katerina is sat there right now with a helmet with horns sticking out of it. I mean, you know, she's allowed, in much the same way that Steve can struggle about the place in a kilt. I'm sure that Katerina has some legal right to be walking around with a helmet with horns sticking out of it. Raping and pillaging, well, maybe not the raping, pillaging as she goes. That's the best thing I've heard today. Brilliant. Tesla need to reach out to Hammerglass. Yes, they certainly do. Good morning to all. Sunday football. Nach Haus kommen. Is that it's coming home in German? Is it something like that? Let's have a look. You haven't mentioned Eddie the Eagle yet. He called earlier and he's busy or something. Steve says, I'll say no more. Half Icelandic Viking. Oof. Oof indeed. Yeah. Yeah, Katerina is off on her hollybobs fairly soon. There she is. She's going to be setting sail in her longship. Helmet with horns, cracking the whip, getting people to... They had oars, right? They had oars on the longships? Yes. Katerina, I'm sure your holiday will look nothing like that at all, but in my head, it looks awesome. Garvin at Mostly Diggers has just joined us as well. Pretty sure he got to see Hammerglass up at Hillhead as well. Yeah. You wouldn't mess with her then. She was really, really lovely, was Katerina. I don't know how this has become the Katerina show. She was absolutely lovely. But now I know she's a Viking, I'm a little bit scared. I'm just a little bit scared. Yes. Nothing excites me and terrifies me more than a powerful woman. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to go and deal with one in just a moment. Everybody, I'll be back here tomorrow at 10 a.m. We may or may not pick up on Vikings. Katerina, you're an absolute legend. She says, I am wearing the helmet, actually, since I'm on holiday. There she is. There she is in Torremolinos. Bikini, Viking helmet. What a fantastic image. You're an absolute star, Katerina. Have a fantastic holiday. I'll be back here tomorrow, everybody else. All go and have a fantastic day, would you? And hope to see you tomorrow. All the very best.